Gee, I wonder what's going on over there. There's a whole murder of crows over there. Get it focused. Oh great, now that I go to video, they disappear. You hear the geese? Anyway, I'm out here in my beautiful backyard. The reservoir is right below me. Part of it. There's a branch of it way down there. I'm way up here on the ridge. Isn't that a beautiful old tree right there? I think I'll stand right there in front of that tree and talk. Why not? Is this recording? Yeah, it is. This is recording. Okay, oh, I'm not high enough. I'll get used to this camera someday, I think. Okay, yeah, the other trouble is I've got my back to the sun. That's a no-no in photography, you know, because it darkens the face and all that. Everybody wants to see my lovely face. Ha ha. Okay, they explain, I'm into chapter 2 of Meldrum and Stephen's text. The Judeo-Christian Bible, and I'm talking about this DNA and the Book of Mormon stuff. The Judeo-Christian Bible offers an account of Jehovah's relationship with his chosen, a covenant people, up to the meridian of recorded history. It is through the patriarchs that we're told the God of the Old Testament established a covenant with the believing posterity of Adam. That covenant was in turn reestablished with Abraham. It was promising that his seed should be as numerous as the sands of the sea, and through his descendants all families and all nations of the earth would be blessed. Abraham's grandson Jacob had his personal wrestle to know his place with the Lord, and he received a blessing and a new name, Israel, that is, the prince that prevails with God. Joseph Smith said Jacob was quite a wrestler. I mean, if you can wrestle with an angel all night long, that's pretty good. It was written that when God separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. That's the famous Deuteronomy 32, verse 8. The visionary prophet Isaiah measured the span of time largely by the scattering and the gathering of the house of Israel. Jesus Christ praised him to the Nephites. He said, "For great are the words of Isaiah, for surely he spake as touching all things concerning my people, which are of the house of Israel." That's 3 Nephi 23, 1 and 2. Isaiah saw Israel sifted throughout the nations of the world, much like leaven in a loaf, dispersing the promises of the covenant and the hope of a Redeemer to the four quarters of the earth. Isaiah foresaw the hosts of Israel eventually gathered and reestablished as a people in the latter days. From the Israelites, and this is an important point, that's the background to get you into the understanding. From the Israelites' own ethnocentric point of view, from their point of view of what reality constituted, they were God's covenant people, occupying center stage in the world drama. But from the point of view of their neighbors, let alone the rest of the world, they were a minor, clannish populace that happened to occupy a strategic geographic nexus between two great civilizations, Egypt in the south and Mesopotamia into the north. In spite of the perception of ethnocentricity and elitism among historical and modern Jews, the original concept of a covenant people is a spiritual and a religious construct, I should say. It's not strictly an ethnic or a genealogical identity. Did you get that? Israel itself is not a genetic identity. It has nothing to do with what DNA is in you on whether you're an Israelite or not, or whether you're a part of the covenant. This is crucial to understand, because there are some arguments that we should be able to find Lamanite, Hebrew DNA in the Americas. Really, that's a little bit naive based on the historical realities facing us. The covenant binds together all who have accepted the terms of belief and attendant behavior. This is the idea of ancient Israel. It's not necessarily genetic. It is behavioral. Those not born into the house of Israel, they are not automatically excluded from the covenant, and they can participate in the covenant through adoption. For Christians, they which are of faith are the children of Abraham. Galatians 3:7. This is very important to keep in mind as we try to discuss this idea of how do we find, it's like trying to ask, since Hebrews came over, should we find Hebrew writing in America? Not necessarily. On the other hand, there are scholars who legitimately say they have verified that the Back Creek stone is genuine Hebrew writing found in ancient America. So, see, you can't write anything off right now. There is no fast, hard conclusions. Is it supposed to be overwhelmed with Hebrew in America? Of course not. Not any more than the genes would be. If we don't keep a proper perspective on how science functions and works, and a proper perspective of what the Scriptures do say and do not say, and what they mean and don't mean, we get all kinds of problems. But if we keep things straight, then we don't. The argument that the DNA has completely proven the Book of Mormon false, that argument's simply false.